I used to feel more confident than I do now. I also used to feel less confident than I do now. When I was younger, I used to wish for a magic potion that could make me look like my little sister. I used to feel like if I had the choice to be someone else, that I would probably take it. I mean, my brain was just completely rotted by all of those posts on ED Tumblr claiming to have access to a special plant that could make you lose weight super quickly. Poison. And I wanted it more than I wanted air to breathe. There was a time in my life where I wanted to be thin more than anything else. And I didn't care what it took. I've spoken before on this channel about struggling with eating disorders when I was a teenager. At that age, I believed in the pursuit of thinness at any cost to my health. Nothing was more important to me than being thin. So I used to be worse. For sure, I used to be worse, but I also think I used to be a little better. I think throughout my college years, through the rise of body positivity and fat liberation spaces online, I started to feel like it was okay to just be me. Like I didn't have to be in this constant pursuit of self-optimization and changing myself to fit an ever-changing mold of what hotness is at that given time. I could just be. I could just exist. And through the influence of so many brilliant plus-size women, I was taught to love myself. And then I felt like it was sort of my job to do the same. I wanted to be able to use my voice and my experiences to impact other people positively in the same way that people were there to impact me positively. I wrote a bunch of poetry about my body image journey. I wrote short films questioning how we speak about fatness. I posted video after video talking about wearing whatever the hell you want, questioning the things that we had taught in terms of what you were allowed to wear or not allowed to wear, breaking apart some of early 2000s diet culture that had been so drilled in to so many of our heads. I got passionate, I got educated, I got loud. Which is why I feel like it's hard for me now not to call out the fact that I, along with many other plus size creators, are noticing a real shift in the wrong direction when it comes to the conversation around body image. It feels like we're regressing. And I know this is a sentiment that's been echoed by many other people. I've talked about it on my podcast and a little bit in last week's video, but I really do feel like I've been spat out in like an alternate dimension 2006.
Best bikini bodies, special weight loss pills, and don't you forget the idea that plastic surgery is permanently tied to womanhood. Have you considered getting Botox at the ripe age of 24 just to get ahead of these things?
Brands that started catering to plus size people that had these huge inclusivity campaigns over the last few years are now rolling back all of the work they did to try to be more inclusive in the products they're selling. We're starting to see less and less of what has felt like encouraging progress over the last decade when it comes to body image. And yes, on the one hand, it's starting to make me feel restless, but on the other hand, it is making me feel a little beat down. So yeah, my self-esteem has not been doing that hot recently. But you're an icon, Maddie. You cannot have a bad body image day. I mean, I very much can. That seems kind of insane to assume there's a level of self-love that you can reach where you become completely impenetrable. But it makes me feel like you didn't really mean it when you said that you liked yourself. Well, it is not my job to be a one-dimensional internet character for you to project yourself onto. I have long spoken openly about my struggle with body image, and I'm in a much more stable place now than I was when I was younger, but to assume that I wouldn't have bad body image days is just unreasonable. Or is it possible that you never really liked yourself and you've been lying all this time? Okay, I see what's happening here. You think that because I'm fat and I like myself, that I must be lying or kidding myself in some way now that you've heard me be vulnerable about struggling recently to hold the weight of all the stilted progress when it comes to our conversations around body image. I think I just preferred you more when I thought you were unbreakable. Well, do you not realize that you're not consuming a written character, that I'm a real person? Like, what's not clicking, babes? Oh, that is totally my bad. I think I just assumed that you were a written character because I'm a written character.
Yeah, let's go.
I've been talking a lot on my podcast about how I've been trying to be more aware of when I start predicting what somebody's reaction to me is gonna be or how they're gonna misunderstand me. Learning how to let go of making sure everyone gets it, so to say. And lucky for me, there's so many of you that do get it. So thank you so much for being here. You guys are wonderful. I do read through the comment sections, at least for a little bit, because I do love reading the nice comments, but some people that have access to a keyboard and an internet connection deserve jail time. And that's just the truth. But for the sake of this video, I did want to entertain some typical commenter reactions, comments that I have seen that I have been talking to myself about, walking around my apartment just speaking into the void. Some typical commenter reactions to hearing a plus size icon talk about the pressure to conform to our ever-changing beauty standards. God damn it. Did you know? Can I just really quickly, before I keep talking about much more important things, there were some 50-year-old men that made a video yelling about me a few weeks ago. I know, and I probably never would have seen this, but somebody emailed me the link for it. So I did go and watch like 2 minutes of it, and my brain was so fried. I was like, do you guys not have like tasks to do? Should you not be like mowing the lawn or remulching in your backyard? So I don't know, somebody's father who is invested in Ozempic was really mad that I had a take or two about it last week, but I digress. I feel like where it initially starts to show up for me is like in my internal dialogue, just noticing that I am being more critical towards myself than I normally would, or I'll have like a passing thought that I'm like, whoa, wait a second, I don't normally think things like that. Why did I just think something like that? It's also been harder for me to get dressed and like really get ready for things. I feel like I've become way pickier and like nothing really satisfies me. Just overall more self-critical than I normally would be. And that's usually where things start for me. That's where I start to notice like, okay, I'm having a harder time these days and I don't really know why. And then I take a look over at my social media feeds, which first of all, I need to do like a full phone detox because I feel like my relationship to my phone has gotten bad again. I don't know, I go through waves with it just like every other person, but I feel like it's been a minute since I've done like a real reflection moment on my relationship with my phone. So we're gonna put a pin in that and we're gonna come back to that at a later date. But oh my God, have my feeds been particularly nasty lately. And you know what? I think that my social media feed is probably kinder than most people's are, simply because I am so liberal with my block button. I see one post from someone that I am like a little iffy on and I'm like blocked. Completely blocked off my timeline. I recently blocked the word Ozempic from my Instagram, which has been hugely awesome, and I hugely recommend it. I feel like I'm getting so many like plastic surgery, get ready with me to get plastic surgery videos served to me, which is wild because every time I see a video like that, I click not interested. If it's like offensive or they say something fatphobic, I immediately block the creator. Like I am so good about saying no, no, no. I am the queen of protecting my peace, okay? If I don't wanna see something, I won't see something. The algorithm doesn't seem to give a fuck these days though. And I feel like I'm served content over and over again where the main message is just how can we change ourselves today to fit what is hot right now? And how can we yell at anyone that questions whether or not that's something we should be doing? So I've felt a general frustration at this shift that I've noticed within my own social media feeds, and then learning that this is something that a lot of other people felt too was really disheartening. Thin is back in, baby. I've had enough of body positivity. You do realize that body positivity, body acceptance, respect for people of all shapes and sizes benefits all of us, correct? Part of the point was to shift the emphasis away from making body types trends. If we're liberating larger bodies, trans bodies, disabled bodies, if we're focused on liberating the most marginalized bodies among us, there is a trickle-down effect there. If they're liberated, we're all liberated. Well, I have body image issues too, and I feel overlooked by body positivity because of my thinness, so I don't like it. There is a very clear difference between having self-esteem issues and facing discrimination because of your body. You can support something without being the face of it. You have actively benefited by the radical body acceptance work led by people in more marginalized bodies than you. There's space for everyone, absolutely, but you cannot feel entitled to talking over people that have the mic for a reason. Okay, fine, I guess that makes sense, but it's just not fun not having your body be the current trend. I guess nothing really feels satisfying to me except having everyone in complete unison that my body is what is considered hot right now. And you know the worst part about all of this is that almost none of us have the body that is trendy, which is why we need to stop leaning into making bodies a trend. Instead of when you see your body not the trend right now, instead of saying, well, I want my body to be the trend, how about we say, we're not making bodies trendy anymore at all. No one walks away from this feeling better about themselves. We all lose. We all just end up feeling like we have to pour thousands of dollars into changing ourselves. You are a real person, not a customizable sim, even though this is a scripted interaction. So I am customizing you a little bit. I think we all deserve to feel, at the very least, neutral about ourselves with a baseline of self-acceptance. But we cannot forget about more marginalized bodies in our pursuit of our own self-acceptance. It's not fair. And for the record, I would say that it was not fair for anyone to do, not just thin people. It wouldn't be fair if someone like me, a white, size 18, able-bodied cis woman, made my liberation more important than people larger than me. I don't experience even a fraction of the challenges that they face. I can't speak for them. I can only encourage the existence of a world that listens to them when they speak. I talked a little bit about this on my podcast this week, but I wanted to talk about it in this video as well. The rise of Ozempic, plastic surgery, this pressure to be constantly changing what you look like, which feels like a large contributor to why I have been feeling down and why a lot of other people have been feeling down. To get my viewpoint across right at the start here, I'm gonna give it to you straight. When it comes to plastic surgery, I feel very conflicted. I would not say that I'm anti-plastic surgery because I believe in bodily autonomy and allowing people to make their own choices for their own bodies. However, I am also absolutely not pro-plastic surgery because it feels thoughtless to me to blindly support without criticism something that is very clearly damaging the self-esteem of many young women. So I fall somewhere in the middle. I'm someone that, you know, is happy to shell out a healthy dose of criticism for these kinds of topics, which I really think is what we should be doing. My big point that I feel I always come back to is just telling people that I think they should be questioning what we've been taught is hot, questioning what we've been taught to believe is like a necessary part of womanhood, taught to question the limiting beliefs we have when it comes to our bodies, when we have a negative thought about ourselves, when we're having a low self-esteem day. Instead of just believing those thoughts as the truth, looking into why it is we think those things, where those thoughts came from, where we learned about those things, and who benefits from making sure we believe those things about ourselves. It's not really about the individual, it's about the systems. My criticism is not really for the individual unless we're talking about individuals with huge, massive amounts of power when it comes to shifting cultural norms and cultural perceptions on these things. My criticism, not for the average individual, more for the larger structures and societal opinions on these things and how we either do or don't question them. The reality is that the diet industry, plastic surgery, these are billions, multiple billions, lots of billions of dollar industries that make money off you hating yourself. So before we go jumping in to believing that what we look like is bad and we need to change XYZ about ourselves and accepting this as being a part of womanhood, which is an aspect to this that I feel particularly fired up about. Before we accept those things as being true, I think it is healthy to dig into them and decide what you personally believe about them, how you feel about it as it pertains to your own body, and just question it a little bit. At the end of it all, you can decide whatever you want to decide for your body, but I think that we need to be encouraging people to look at these things with a more critical lens rather than just being like, well, I hate myself. I learned that I should hate myself through XYZ, and now I'm gonna shell out thousands of dollars to the same people that taught me to hate myself because I now hate myself. You know? I think it just makes me sad because I feel like sometimes we're given like the illusion of choice and we believe that we are making these decisions about our bodies and what to do with them when really we've been like primed to make this choice over many, many years. And I'm not saying it's the case for everyone, but I'm saying for a lot of plastic surgery, that is the case. And this is why you see a lot of people that end up regretting plastic surgeries that they've gotten, or people will get one plastic surgery and then they will be persuaded into getting so many more. You go into the office and you go in for one thing and they're like, well, you know what? This would look better if you did a little bit of this. This would look better if you did a little bit of that. And then suddenly you have all these different procedures done and you don't even know how you got here. And I want to make explicitly clear here that I'm really not harboring judgment for or talking about the individual at all here. And I'm more talking about the industry at large and how we've been taught to accept these things without further thought or without criticizing them. I think I've started to feel it more and more as I've gotten a little bit older. I'm 27 now, and I feel like particularly when it comes to like Botox, I hear chat about that all the time. People encouraging women my age to start getting Botox. Do it when you're young. I mean, even just like observing those conversations, I feel has a negative impact on my brain when I hear people on TikTok or even just like overhearing people in my real life talk about like wanting to get rid of your smile lines or like the lines with in your eye when you smile. I don't know. I don't even know the name for these things because that's how little I think about it. And I think I had already had some opinions on this stuff just through watching my mom go through it. My mom and her relationship to her body greatly impacted my relationship with my body in a lot of challenging ways. But I think that watching how she struggled with aging specifically, because I always looked at her and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I never understood it. It was like, I would hear, not even just my mom, adults in general, when they like point out, oh, I've got wrinkles that do this. Can you see this part of my face? They would point at it and I'd be like, yeah, like I see the wrinkle, I see the line, but I don't understand why it's a bad thing. Why you have this like negative idea of it just ingrained since birth. Like, why is aging a bad thing? I'm happy to look 27 when I'm 27, 35 when I'm 35, 50 when I'm 50, so on and so forth. Like, I have no desire to freeze my 27-year-old body and be like, and now this is the only version of beautiful that ever existed. I don't like that. I don't like that attitude. I don't think it's nice to talk to yourself that way. And I think I maybe am just more sensitive to it because I saw how it impacted my mom growing up. And I just made like a commitment to myself to not go down that path of like always having to, I don't know, get rid of the next sign of aging that pops up and preserve a version of myself that I actually don't need forever. For who? Like, why are we not allowed to age? Who told us that we're not allowed to age? Who said that? Because I think they were wrong and fucked up and maybe made a lot of money by convincing ourselves that we weren't allowed to do that. Oh my God. And this is not even talking about the fact that this is largely a pressure felt by women more than men. Not that men don't get it at all, but just that it is much more a part of womanhood, you know? That it is like an expected part of getting older, which I disagree with. And I have a problem with it, I do. Because again, it goes back to like the illusion of choice. I believe people should be able to choose these things, but I don't know that we have as much choice in them as people think we do. Because we've been primed to believe we need to make these choices for so many years that by the time you do make the choice, you might be convinced that it's you making that choice. But in reality, is it? I don't know. I just don't want to be in a place where I am not, at the very least, questioning these things. I don't want to be in a place where I have a negative thought about myself, or I think I need to change myself in such and such a way, and I don't think about it any deeper. I don't question where it came from. I think it's a good thing to be in a habit of questioning your limiting beliefs instead of accepting them as the truth. Do you ever feel guilty you don't feel as confident now as you did a few years ago? I mean, honestly, yes. Sometimes I do. And I think that's largely because I really want to be someone that my younger self could have looked up to. And also for my audience. I care about, I guess, being a good example. But I need to remember that part of being a good example, part of being who my younger self needed, is acknowledging the ups and downs, acknowledging that things are not perfect and wonderful all the time, that I am a real human being that is feeling all of it and taking all of it in real time. And I don't know, I think part of being a good example is just in being able to talk openly about these things, not necessarily about being perfect in any way. Do you think it'll always be this way? What way? Like, can you picture a world where fat phobia isn't served to us on a silver platter literally everywhere we turn? Sometimes it just feels like people won't even acknowledge that it exists, or they feel so entitled to their own fat phobia that denying its existence right in our face feels righteous to them. Like I don't deserve to exist. Like my pain doesn't really matter to them because they think I deserve to feel it. Yeah, I know that feeling. I don't know. I don't know what things are gonna be like in another 20 to 30 years, but I do know that my life has been completely and utterly changed by so many people on an individual level. Whether or not everything changes doesn't mean that there can't be like monumental, huge change that happens just from person to person, from me to you, you to me. I mean, my weight neutral nutritionist helped me completely rebuild my relationship with food and movement, helped me learn more about nourishing my body without guilt or punishment. Also just gave me the confidence to know that I could make good decisions for myself, helped me get rid of a lot of the thinking that had been drilled into my brain from my eating disorder as a teenager. My dance studio, both as a child, as an adult, teaching me how to move my body for the joy of moving my body, moving your body as a celebration rather than a reason to change your body or to guilt yourself. Incorporating movement as celebration has been monumental to me. And then all of the fat creatives that have inspired me to dream bigger, dress wilder, do the scary thing, take up space. My fat friends making me feel supported and understood, and honestly, my friends in general, regardless of size, always making me feel so loved and cared for, and like they are just as committed to criticizing the things we accept as truth and looking inwards. The amount of connections I've made through the internet talking about this stuff, I mean, I could really make a list of 50 people that have had a profound impact on my body image journey, and I hope that they know that they had a really important impact on my body image journey. So I don't know where we're gonna be 20 to 30 years from now, where the cultural attitude around this stuff is gonna sit at, but I do know that we can make really profound impacts as individuals today. And I'm an optimist, so I have to believe that crazier things could happen. I hope so. Me too. Whenever I post a video like this, I know there's gonna be some craziness in the comments, some really fat-phobic craziness in the comments. For those of you that are thin watching this, that don't know what it's like to be a fat person with an opinion on the internet, woo-wee. A lot of people will not want to listen to me criticize beauty standards at all, simply because I'm fat and that makes them angry. People feel like so entitled to their own fat phobia that they just say whatever the fuck they want to say, regardless of if that's how you as an adult should speak to a stranger. Do you need a timeout? Do you need to practice how to speak to people again? Like, this is how I feel like talking to some of you people with internet access. But I read through some of those like awful fat-phobic comments, and to me, I just see that their brain is rotted by the very thing that I had to unrot when I was younger, where they care about thinness at any cost. They care about me presenting physically a certain way over anything else. And I love when these people try to like parade it around as if they give a fuck about health, because anybody that does give a fuck about health doesn't talk like that. And I'm gonna stop here briefly and keep it moving because I do not like talking about these absolute morons. But it is crazy to me when people hop up in these comment sections with the most fat-phobic things their brain can think up, and then they'll try to parade it around as them giving a shit about your health, which is certifiably insane, and I need you to know that. Like, even in my latest podcast episode, I was saying something that I believe is like universally agreeable. I was saying that I think that everybody should be focusing more on separating health and aesthetics. If you want to live a healthier lifestyle, learn how to nourish your body more, build more colorful meals, find movement that is both joyful to you and sustainable, creating habits that you can take with you year after year, like how to live a healthier lifestyle in the long term that works for you and is kind to your body physically and mentally. I was talking about how I think most people would largely benefit from separating aesthetics and health in that way. And it's crazy because people will hear me talk about that and talk about how I went to a weight neutral nutritionist for so long to help me learn about how to better nourish my body and heal my relationship with these things, which obviously means that we never once talked about my weight. And also, I don't weigh myself. I have no idea how much I weigh. It is a total mystery to me. And I think some people hear that and they get sent into a fucking rage for some reason. They hear that I'm someone with a history of eating disorders and bad body image and that this is a choice that I've made for my health. Actually, I need to know that number right now, Fatty McFatterson. I don't care about your habits or that you're learning about nourishment and colorful meals and eating well. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I just want to know that number, big fatty. And this is how they out themselves, right? Because they don't give a fuck at all about my health. They don't care about my habits. They don't care about me healing my relationship with food and movement, learning how to cook more colorful, well-balanced meals, learning how to incorporate more movement that I can sustain in the long term. They don't give a fuck about my health habits. They care about me being thin. That is it. They do not care at all. They are simply fat phobic. They didn't hear a word I said. They just saw that I was fat and was like, oh, fat person detected. And those people are lame and stupid, okay? For anyone listening, people whose brains operate like that are not to be trusted, are not worth taking feedback from, taking opinions from. They do not view bodies as gently as they deserve to be treated. A lot of us have quite a bit of trauma surrounding this topic, surrounding this subject. A lot of us have histories of eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and these things require a certain amount of preciousness that those people are so unwilling to explore simply because of how deeply fat phobic they are. None of us need them, okay? Those people are insane. They will make everyone feel badly about their bodies. Unpacking your own fat phobia, focusing on the inclusion of larger bodies. Being a good fucking person helps everyone. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, what can I do both for myself and for the friends I am surrounded with to help make this a little bit easier, here are some things that I think we should remember. Number one, something that I think every single person should be doing is clocking your internal dialogue. Catch yourself in the way that you are thinking and speaking about body image. Catch yourself, point it out, think about it, and think critically about it. Whether it is you using the word fat as a negative word, nitpicking yourself, all the things your brain is telling you are not good enough about yourself. Try your hardest to just stop, take a second, and dig deeper. In connection to that, ask yourself where your opinions on beauty came from. Where did you learn these things? Let's dig in. Okay, let's dig real in here, okay? We're going to the center of the fucking earth, okay? We're deep in the core asking these questions. Where did your perceptions on beauty come from? Are they from respected sources? Are these opinions that you agree with? Are they opinions that you want to hold? Ask yourself these questions. I don't know, I can't answer them for you. I can answer them for me. I know what my answers are. Number 3, support the damn community. Follow diverse voices, support inclusive brands, which this is something that I think about a lot, but if you are someone who is straight-sized and you can find your size in most places, trying to go out of your way to support inclusive brands and shop with companies that are going out of their way to provide options to plus-size people, I think is a worthwhile endeavor. Follow plus-size artists, call out bullshit when you see it, ultimately just doing whatever you can to support the community. And number 4, let's practice what we're preaching here. Be kind to yourself. I know, crazy. It is crazy how a lot of us starts and ends with ourselves. We can do so much work just by looking within. Something I think about a lot is how much I learned about my body image through the observation of other people, through the adults that were around me growing up, through the media that I consumed. And this is why I care so much about speaking about body image in a certain way now, in a way that would have helped my younger self, because I know that we learn so much about ourselves through observation, and all of us are examples to someone. So be nice to yourself, because someone's watching, and somebody is learning how to speak to themselves through watching how you talk to yourself. And to all of my plus size girls watching this specifically, I just want to shout out how beautiful and fucking brilliant that you are. It is hard out here, okay? I see it and I don't like it. And I just need you to know that in a sea of mess, okay? Among all of the idiots and morons that have an internet connection, know that there are so many people that see you and love you for all that you are today. And you do not need to change yourself in order to feel loved by other people or by yourself. I think I deserve to be happy. Say more. But I'm scared. What are you scared of? I guess I'm scared what people will say if I stop always trying to self-optimize. I feel like I'm breaking some sort of social rule by not taking part, and I'm worried that people might hate me if I stop following it. But how would it make you feel if you stopped always trying to change yourself? If you learned to love yourself in every era and every form and all of your ever-changing beauty? I mean, it would make me feel like I didn't have to delay happiness. Like maybe it was already here. And that my 12-year-old self that was told things like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, as she skipped her meals in hopes of shape-shifting into someone else, could be held for once. That I could be the one to hold her. I think if I stopped trying to change myself, I would feel free. Like my own opinions of myself and what makes me feel beautiful were more important than the arbitrary images of hotness being shoved down my throat since birth. I think I would learn to care more about what I thought of me. I think you deserve to be happy too.